I'm Court McCutchen. I'm the principal at Texas Select Insurance Group. We're here in San Angelo, Texas. We are a full-service commercial and personal lines insurance agency. We have about 10 employees there, and we are growing, like they say, is like a weed in West Texas. But we're doing that because we like to answer questions for clients and get to know them and figure out what it is that they need in insurance. And I wanted to kind of get with you guys and just talk about some of the questions that we get on a daily basis in regards to commercial insurance. So the first question that we get a lot is, how much does it cost, right? The answer is always, it depends. It depends on what we're insuring, right? Are you a one-man show contractor? How much do you do in sales? Do you insure a property? Are you insuring a big building that you lease out to multiple tenants? Those kinds of things are all factors. Obviously, in Texas, we get a lot of big ice balls falling from the sky here. So we have what is considered a higher property rate in the United States. We get anywhere from golf ball to baseball, even softball size hail. And so those things can drive the factors and that kind of thing. Another question that we get a lot is, how much is my deductible? We talked about that in previous videos, but the answer is it's two different deductibles typically on property. And what is a deductible? We get that a lot too. That is the portion you're responsible for if you file a claim with the insurance carrier. So there's two different deductibles typically on a piece of property. The first one is the wind and hail deductible. And that's the big one, right? That's what we get most of when we get high winds or tornadoes, but really the hail. That one in Texas right now is typically a percentage deductible. So when we talk about percentage deductibles, it's a percentage of what your building would cost to replace or your house would cost to replace. So it's very standard that we see 1% or 2% or 5% even. So, if you have a $500,000 house and a 5% wind and hail deductible, you're going to have a $25,000 deductible for that hail, for that roof and the siding and all the damage and that kind of thing. The other deductible is an all other perils deductible. So that one is a lot easier to understand because it's everything else, right? Other than those that wind and hail. That one is typically a lower deductible. Why is that? Because that's what insurance carriers see the least amount of. So it's not something that typically is a very high claim. Now fire can be, that's usually a total loss, right? But it's very less frequent than our hailstorms here in Texas. So those can be anywhere from $2,500, $5,000, $10,000, those kinds of deductibles. So that would cover everything else like theft and, water damage, a water pipe bust in your building or whatever. So should insurance be included in your business budget? I would say absolutely. It basically protects for a lot of different things, like, for instance, loss of revenue, things like that. So as your business grows, as your budget will grow, if your business is growing, you can insure for loss of revenue so that if something happens to your building or your business, that the insurance carrier will come in and replace that revenue while we rebuild your building if you can't work. There's all kinds of things that insurance would cover also, like lawsuit protection. That's what we call it, right? It's really called liability if you want the insurance jargon, but lawsuit protection insurance, right? So if you open the doors on day one and you don't have the liability insurance or the lawsuit protection insurance, and you have a slip and fall, that person can sue you, and now you're out of business before you start business. So always insurance should be a line item in your budget to open your business. So loss of revenue really pertains to if a covered peril, we call them perils, if something happens that's a covered thing in the policy, right, and it causes you not to be able to make money, that's a covered loss on the insurance policy. That can be a covered loss on the insurance policy. So when we talk about loss of revenue, we always separate these into things that ruin your life or things that ruin your day, right? If you have a hailstone bust through your window or damage your roof, that does ruin your day. We'll get it fixed, right? But if you have the building burned down and now your restaurant's closed for 6-8 months, that's the thing that could ruin your life, right, financially. So there's not only are we going to be replacing that building, we replace the revenue stream that you had while you were there so that you're not having that revenue stream anymore. So the same pertains when you talk about loss of revenue. If I own a piece of rental property, like a strip center, and I have 7 tenants in there, and that sucker catches on fire tonight, those tenants are no longer, A, they're not in there anymore because it burned down, but B, they're not paying my rent. So how am I going to pay my lender that I have this note on this building as an investor for? loss of revenues. That's how we're going to do that. And so, the fire triggered that loss of revenue. That can be a covered peril on your policy if you're an investor or restaurant owner or anything where something, the building or something like that is concerned that if it's gone, you're not making money anymore. So that kind of thing. Where do you purchase insurance for your company? I'm a little partial to Texas Select, but that said, I would always find a good independent insurance agent, one that you can trust. It doesn't have to be us, but somebody that'll have a conversation with you on about what is your business needs and what are your business wants, right? Because a lot of these policies are super customizable. It's not always the cheapest policy is the best. That's actually the opposite of what it normally can turn out to be. But there's also some things that maybe you do or don't need in that policy that you'd be paying for if you just went online and got it, right? And so I'd always advise a professional, pay your professionals, your attorneys, your real estate agents. Insurance is no different. You need to find somebody that you trust to give you that advice and guidance. Texas Select has, we have 10 licensed agents there. 7 of those do commercial insurance and 3 do personal lines. So we definitely have a full array of whatever you might be looking for. And we're growing. We'll probably add 3 to 4 more agents this year alone. So we just love what we do. The whole team is behind it, and we focus on education and make sure that we're up to speed on what's going on in the insurance industry today. Oh, that's a loaded question. So does the insurance industry change a lot month to month and year to year? It has in the past. We see markets soften and markets harden. When I say soften and harden, soft market would be it's super easy to get insurance. There's a lot of people competing for it. A hard market would be nobody wants to insure you except the current person that you have, so do not cancel that policy or you will never get insurance again kind of thing, right? So we just are exiting that hard market. We spent the last 2 years really in one of the hardest markets in 22 years that I've ever seen in this business. Deductibles went up, prices soared through the roof. We are just now starting to see that if pendulums swing back to a softer market. We're seeing some new carriers come back into the marketplace in Texas, I'm talking about, and we're seeing them compete for that business. So it's a great time to shop your policy right now because we are seeing carriers actually get up and fight over insuring your policy for you. So that's a great thing that we haven't seen that in 3 or 4 years. So do we navigate that for you? And I would say that that's our primary job. Right, is to know that market. A person can go online to whatever.com and shop one company, maybe even multiple companies, but they don't know what's behind the curtain, right, on their policy. So for us, that's where our rubber meets our road, right? We know what's behind the curtain, and we know who to use, who's going to pay a claim, right? And who maybe will give you trouble if come claim time, right? They may look glittery, but they're not gold. And we keep our finger on the pulse of many industries of who is the best market as far as we say, bang for the buck or coverage for your money, right? What's the best value, right? And the best value doesn't always mean the cheapest. And we normally don't sell the cheapest policy, but we do find you the best value, especially when we're able to, through you, cater to different types of policies and coverages that maybe you need and some that maybe you don't need. The real cost, we always say it's not what you pay now, it's what you pay later, right? So the real cost, when we talk about that of a low cost or cheap policy, I always say, there's never a problem until there's a problem. You can select that cheap policy and it's going to not be a problem because you got that paper and you're driving around or you've got that certificate of insurance and you can do that job as a contractor, no problem, until you look at the exclusions and something happens, right? Until there's somebody that's getting carted off in an ambulance and you're scratching your head and I got to call the company and see what's going on. So there's never a problem till there's a problem, and that saying rings especially true in insurance. So the cheapest policy rarely provides the best coverage. I would say, we have a lot of niches that we do, but a lot of what we do is going to be contractor's liability. We do a lot of that. If you're a roofer, a plumber, an HVAC contractor, we have lots of great markets for that. If you're a real estate investor, a storage facility investor, real estate, anything, where you're basically buying commercial real estate to lease out to others, that kind of thing is a very big portion of what we do and know where to go for. We know who has the best property markets with the best deductibles and the best forms on the insurance policy. So those are just a couple. If I had to name a third one, I would say anybody in a retail business, right? Retail, if you're in a strip center, we can do that all day long. Like if you're one of the businesses that leases space somewhere, we can do that all day long. Oil and gas is a very special niche for us as well, being that we're on the doorstep to the West Texas oil field. We have very extensive experience in markets that other agents wouldn't have. Due to our volume of premium and things that we put with these carriers, we have special contracts that some agents wouldn't have access to. So if you're a busy business owner and you're looking for an insurance agency that will provide value to you, I think Texas Select is a great spot to come to and get that. Number one, we're going to save you a ton of time because we know where to go with that market, with whatever it is that you do typically. We have systems and tools in place and relationships with those underwriters that other agents don't have. Whereas you might be waiting weeks for another agent, our turnaround time on a commercial insurance policy or quote is typically 2 days. We have underwriters that we put enough business with that they put us at the top of the pile, and they know and we know where to go with that. So we're going to do an intake sheet or, hey, what do you want? We're going to have that meeting, that sit-down meeting, or that meeting via Zoom or over the phone with you, and that's going to take you about 4 minutes. And we're going to be able to take that information, get everything we need, and get that out to market for you and have that turned around for you within 2 days. That, to me, has been the number one thing as Texas Select goes, is our speed to transact for you is second to none. We get calls all of the time where my insurance agent hasn't gotten back with me and it's been 3 weeks. And we go to market for that person and we find out that none of the markets have been approached yet because that person, their current agent, has been sitting on it or playing golf or doing whatever they do. We don't do any of that. We have a 48-hour turnaround. We will let you know where we're at in each step of the way. If the bigger the case, right, the little bit more time it might take. But we'll let you know. We keep you posted. We utilize all of the technology, the texting. However you want to communicate, that's how we communicate with you. We text, we can email, we can do a video call, we can do anything like that. And so we save you time. If you're a busy business owner, a lot of people don't have time to come in and sit down and pull out all the paper policies and all that. We have services that can go pull a copy of that policy for you if you don't have it, right? You just have to give us permission to do so. Can do a lot of things via video proposals. We can do phone calls. We can text. All of those things are ways we can do business and save you time and money. So as a 4-time, 5-time business owner, I know how it is to be very busy and really just need things taken care of. I also know that I need to give that person who's taking care of that all the information they need for them to take care of it for me. But, I've owned 3-4 businesses myself, continue to own a business. I know how hard it is when our day-to-day operations seem to just take hold and we kind of push things to the wayside. I would say that to me, what I would want if I were looking for an insurance agent is somebody that can do what I need them to do and as efficient and quickly as possible, but cover me as good as possible. I'm not all about the cheapest thing. I actually shy away from that as a business owner because you can get cheap or you can get value. You really can't get both, right? So I shy away from that. I like my professionals as a business owner. I pay my attorney. I pay my CPA. We pay our real estate agents to find us properties that we need. So some of my businesses are real estate investments, and so I can identify as well with real estate investment professionals because I know what a cap rate is. I know what it is to have cash flows and the expenses. I know that taxes and insurance are our biggest expense and enemy, right? So we want to find the best policy that suits you. How did Texas Select come to be? I was working for a captive carrier for the last 18 years prior to this as a captive agent. Really enjoyed commercial insurance. The captive agency taught me a ton of things, and I owned it, but it taught me a ton of things about business ownership, about how to train and hire people. But at the end of the day, I really felt like our hands were cuffed, right? Because we only had one product, and if I needed a square peg and it was a round hole, I mean, I had to get to hammering and chiseling away, right? It just didn't fit as far as for what our customers needed. This is just for us in commercial insurance, right? And personal lines as well. And so I knew I had to do something a little bit different. I love insurance. Insurance has always been in my blood. My dad was a district manager for a large captive carrier back in the day, and I've always loved it. But I knew we had to do it differently. So I took all the knowledge and learning that we received there in the last 18 years at our carrier and started Texas Select and hired my first staff member right out of about 2021, I guess. And from there, we've grown to over 12 people. And so in 4 years, it's been an amazing journey because we're able to do things for people. We almost take price out of the factor, right? Because we have all the carriers. It's all about service now. So it has been a very different transition, and one that I would say I'm eternally grateful for. And I'm also eternally grateful for my time at the captive agency learning, right? Like, I learned a lot. There was a lot of great mentors back there. But at the end of the day, you really pull the gloves off going with the independent side of things, because we've really taken price out of the factor. Now it's all about our knowledge base and where to go with each risk that we receive at the agency. So that's where we can help you earn your money, is knowing where to go with whatever risk you bring us. So I've had a lot of fun making videos today. I think if any of you out there have any questions or things you'd like us to discuss, we're going to keep doing this. We want to add value to you, right? As a small business owner, we want to add value to your business and really help answer any questions you might have about these kinds of things and risk management in general. Just give us a call or, hey, pop a question on the feed there on the Facebook or Instagram or whatever. Let us know. We follow those. And so we really appreciate any new questions and content that you guys might want to hear about in this world. It's not always an exciting thing, right? But I think it all is relative. Our business is typically our number one revenue source as families, right? And so if we own our own business, there's nothing harder, but there's nothing more rewarding. And hopefully we can help you dodge any potholes in the road or things like that, answer any questions for you. So thanks.